Hello and welcome to the game between Ambrose and elmikkino. Ambrose is on Ninhasir red, a mono red deck that runs Ninhasir's March. Then you're also playing a bunch of burn spells that come back from your yard, so then in the late game you can just burn out your opponent. And then you're also running 2 new and Amelia main, which gives you a bunch of mana to dump on your burn spells that you're flashing back from the yard.
Very pretty fast burn deck that also go big with, as mentioned, Amelia main and 2 new. Then elmikkino is on Temur Runebrawler, which is a flash style mid-range deck using Confirm Hypothesis and Sangjin as kind of pseudo-ramp pieces to get into big 5-drops like Runebrawler or Prodigious Tanya as tail. So getting into the game, we have Ambrose on a 2-lander with some solid threats, and elmikkino on a kind of so-so 3-lander, but having the Portal Fracture and Sangjin makes it a lot nicer.
Meanwhile, elmikkino plays the top land and can't turn one Panya.
So you see Brazen Sacrilege going face, so what do you think about Portal Fracturing that?
Well, elmikkino definitely doesn't think much of it. I think end of turn Panya is probably what they're looking for.
Yeah, that probably makes sense.
Well, Ambrose is just not stopping with the burn. And I guess elmikkino finally decides to,
Will he put up with it or not? Yeah, Ambrose plays this deck in a way that I certainly wouldn't have expected, just kind of aiming everything face.
Yeah. But seems to be working well.
Yeah, that's definitely not the way that when I was building Ninhasir, I intended it to be played. It seems like it's working out really well for Ambrose.
elmikkino's passing turn with Sanjing up, I think. 3 Sanjings, in fact. Ambrose is stuck on 2 lands and mentions that this is in fact not a very good situation for them. And elmikkino's just going up lands now.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the kind of concerns with Ambrose's deck, where he kind of stuck on these 4 drops. I mean, getting stuck on 2 lands is a bit unfortunate, but
elmikkino just gets to play Runebrawler now.
So, well, even better than that, gets to play Panya Tail.
Ooh. I don't think they have the mana for it. They have to top deck a land in order to Panya Tail next turn.
They just... Wait, what's happening? Where did Ambrose draw?
I think Ambrose forgot about whose turn it was.
Yeah, well, as soon as we get this rewinded, Panya's going to come down end of Ambrose's turn, and then we're going to see Panya Tail hit for 4, then a hit for 8 plus 8 more from burn, which I think is just lethal, right?
Is it?
4 plus 8 plus 8?
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if Ambrose did save the burn for the creatures instead, well, I guess it wouldn't have changed much. But then that means Ambrose is just doing nothing on the first few turns.
Well, they would be dead here, for one.
Yeah, but I think Ambrose still did the correct play, given what they knew.
Well, I don't know about that. It seemed like maybe in some matchups just random burn makes sense, but I feel like it's a bit hard to burn out Runebrawler.
They don't have life gain.
Well, they don't, but it's just such an interactive deck. And definitely consider Ambrose's hand of like a couple of 2 news, Raga, and Emily Main. The only real way to push down through is the Rattler in that hand.
Well, maybe because Ambrose has a hand of big stuff, they think that they don't need to use the burn early because they can use big stuff to deal with the creatures later.
Yeah, I mean, the Rattler definitely does, but I mean, using Raga as a fire end is, I don't think, really where you want to be. I mean, in this case, it has elmikkino had just multiple Sangjins and has legend rule them. But it seems a bit hard to win before Runebrawler can get stuff set up. This is going on turn 5, right?
Is it turn 5 already?
Or turn 4 even?
I don't even know what turn it is because, well, how many extra lands do they have?
elmikkino ramp twice with Sangjin. I think they missed a land drop.
Okay,
so I
so
think this is going to be elmikkino's turn 5.
right,
I think maybe turn 4. What Portal Fracture, Sangjin. No, this is turn 5. So, and Penny is just a lot of damage. Same with like Runebrawler.
yeah, Panya's
Running into a Portal Fracture means you are just kind of out of luck, right?
right.
And maybe I am wrong in that just because Runebrawler doesn't have a ton of life gain, but with only I forget how many Solar Flares Elmikkino's on. They are on 2 Solar Flares main and 1 in the sideboard.
Right.
But it does seem like this game should be over as long as this Panya is able to be cast on Ambrose's end stuff. Definitely another good example of how Runebrawler can put damage out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you're up dealing 5 to face, ignition point being just more burn and Panya being the thing that lets you enable it all.
I mean, even if Ambrose did draw an extra land, I don't think they would have been able to stop elmikkino from doing that or doing whatever they're already doing.
Yeah, not really. They wouldn't be dead, so if they had landed the Rattler, if only because Rattler can block a Sangjin. But they'd still be in an incredibly losing position because even just playing Runebrawler down is something that Ambrose doesn't really seem capable of beating with this kind of hand. I mean, even something kind of moderately more pedestrian, like if Ambrose played a Rattler on this turn and elmikkino just burning docked it, then Runebrawler comes down to exiles the burning up, and that just kills in 2 turns.
Yeah.
Basically by itself if elmikkino draws lands.
All right, the judge call finally resolved. Well, that was a long judge call. Okay, anyways.
So, elmikkino can draw Panya.
Or if they don't draw Panya, they can just play down Runebrawler, right? Or I guess...
Well, they have a mana floating here, so...
Okay, never mind, yeah.
Okay.
Panya does its best impression of a lava axe.
6 mana lava axe time warp. Yeah, pretty good impression. But as soon as elmikkino passes upkeep and Ambrose there's nothing.
Yeah.
The game seems like it will have ended, making extra sure that they can win the game.
You know, people in Canon Magic hate Elrond's Epiphany, so I wonder what they'll think when they see Panya.
That's true. I mean, it's a bit easier to interact with Panya than Elrond's. Just a bit.
Yeah. Anyway, sideboarding.
Yeah, so elmikkino will get similarly Solar Flare is exceptional here.
Solar Flare
Sacrificial Bowl.
Solar Flare is still Pandemonium, Sacrificial Bowl. I think Obscuriate maybe? Is there anything to kill in that deck? No, right?
You probably don't want to display it just because it gives Ambrose Mountains.
Right.
Forbidden Void Flare doesn't seem great here. Doesn't really kill that much. Maybe you can bring in Silver Pandemonium, Forbidden Treasure. Not sure about those.
Yeah, Forbidden Treasure hits all the graveyard stuff. And
yeah, at the same time, it is a little bit clunky. Silver Pandemonium and Ninhasir is kind of nice, but again, a little bit clunky.
And meanwhile, on Ambrose's side,
Amber's not having that
Civ cost.
Sideboard.
The Civilizations cost 1 Scarred. Anarchy Storm.
Do you want Anarchy Storm here?
Yeah, it kills lands. The entire deck is non-basics.
Yeah, Anarchy Storm kills lands, but Runebrawler is playing 4 confirmed, 3 Sangjin, and 24 lands.
Yeah, but I mean, it bounds. Like you can play Anarchy Storm and then cast something off it, so it's not complete dead weight.
I guess. I mean, I don't think you're having too much problem running out your 1 and 2 drops in Ambrose's deck. I mean, you could definitely bring in Anarchy Storm, but it doesn't seem particularly exceptional. Civilization's cost is definitely great. We'll see if elmikkino plays around it, or if they can. And once God is similarly quite good.
Let's see. Ambrose has a hand with 2 lands once again. They're going to decide whether they want to take the risk.
Very conspicuously similar to the game 1 hand.
elmikkino also has a conspicuously... Oh, okay. Yeah, it's basically game 1 all over again, except this time Ambrose is on the play. Or was Ambrose on play last game too? I forgot.
I don't recall. So, let's see if Ambrose decides to Prix and sacrilege phase.
Ambrose does draw the third land, so they won't be stuck on lands this game. And
Very
nobly, Temur Runebrawler has a hard time dealing with Ninhasir's March.
That is true. We'll see if Ambrose can manage to draw more lands this game.
Okay, Ambrose is going full aggro. No regrets.
Yeah, this is just kind of how Ambrose plays the deck. Goes the MSA,
and
which just runs straight into a burning up. Just
right,
Dominion giving
but
that's
still probably a decent trade.
Yeah,
or Ambrose can just play Rogar and make Rogar and tokens.
Yeah, it is very, very tempting to play MSA. It's such a high value card if it hits.
I think Ambrose still wants to play Rogars first because they have 2 Rogars, so if one gets killed, then it's good.
Yeah, it seems kind of unlikely that elmikkino would kill it. I'd be kind of concerned that if I was Ambrose, that if I play Rogar, then elmikkino just plays the confirm hypothesis and then a poor fraction on the next turn, and I feel kind of silly.
Right.
No, elmikkino doesn't have either of those cards, but Ambrose, of course, doesn't know that. That's all to run at the MSA.
Yeah.
Which, of course, elmikkino is pretty happy about.
elmikkino is going to kill at beginning of combat, I guess, just in case. Actually, what reason is there for killing at beginning of combat?
If you misread the card and think that it triggers on attack.
Oh god, if the card triggered on attack, that would make it so much better. You know, like 3 mana, 3/3 haste that just recasts something on attack.
That would be pretty exceptional. So elmikkino does draw the Portal Fracture, which you must be very happy about, since that's a very good answer to the Rogar.
Good news is
number 2. I don't think you want to Portal Fracture this.
Well, the good news here is that elmikkino still doesn't have 4 lands for Portal Fracture, so yeah, they're just gonna Ignition Point instead, and then Portal Fracture next turn once Wanderlust is up.
Yep, and well, Runebrawler doesn't have a ton of ways to deal with kill-wise strategies. Portal Fracture does deal with a Rogar very, very cleanly.
Ambrose gets Anarchy Storm and has nothing to bound off it.
So I think we actually have a similar situation as in game 1, where Ambrose might just randomly lose here, since elmikkino has Sangjin, get back a land, Portal Fracture the Rogar, make 2 tokens. Then if they draw a land, they can Panya and Tail and hit for 5, and then hit for 10, and then a Runebrawler burning up for lethal.
Man, I feel bad for Ambrose now.
And they do not hit the land.
I mean, they're still in a super good position.
Oh yeah, the game is actually and they just have Runebrawler, grab a burning up. Well, actually, Portal Fracture is probably even safer here. I don't see how Ambrose beats a Portal Fracture with Runebrawler.
I mean,
I don't see how Ambrose is burning up under Runebrawler.
elmikkino's just going for blood now.
So here's 4 from the burning up, 5 from the board, and the next turn we have then I guess on Ambrose's turn you have Shifting Glaive, Crack to get the burning up for 5, and then burning up face again. And
so Ambrose can Anarchy Storm.
They certainly can. They'd be very dead. They're
not completely dead.
Well, I mean, there's 10 damage on. They're staying at 10 power on the board.
Anarchy Storm,
pretty dead.
A Bound Rogar's Frenzy killed the Sanjing.
Yeah, but the burning up does 5 to face.
You kill the land, so now elmikkino's forced to top deck into the land in order to activate Runebrawler.
Well, elmikkino can just crack the Shifting Grove right now.
Oh yeah, right, they can.
And this is kind of a good showcase of how degenerate the Runebrawler deck can be.
I mean, you don't win GPs by being not degenerate. I mean, I feel like all of the last few GP winning decks have been, or at least have some sort of unfair element to them.
I suppose that's kind of true.
I mean, Infuse. That's literally Infuse.
Yeah, last 3 GPs were Runebrawler, 8-sack, Infuse. Somehow 8-sack is the least degenerate of those decks. But yeah, that was a kind of a slaughter.
Don't feel bad, Ambrose. You tried your best. Your opponent just drew better.
Yeah, Amelie Ambrose's deck is not super well prepared for Runebrawler. Just the amount of interaction Runebrawler has. Like we saw that game with Emissary with killing both MSAs and then portal fracturing is just kind of enough that Ambrose can't really kill Runebrawler. And then on top of that, only really way for Ambrose to kind of snowball is with the one of Lieutenant Daisy Saxon. And that's the only real way.
They could also snowball off Emissary into Anarchy Storm into Bound the 2 cost card.
That's true, though really expecting Emissary to hit is kind of optimistic even on the play. It's not impossible, but and really the sideboard isn't really set up for this matchup either. Not having any instant speed or having only a single once god as the instant speed interaction means that Anya and Runebrawler are incredibly hard to answer.
But at the same time, like Candy sideboard, Fire Your Rager.
Well, more once gods, Excoriate.
Right.
Certainly, kind of stuff like Sear Flesh looks a little bit silly, even if it does kill Runebrawler. Even with kind of like good sideboard cards, this might still even be a nightmare matchup for Ambrose.
Yeah.
Maybe with enough civilizations cost becomes okay. But even then, that's kind of reliant on elmikkino not drawing a bunch of basics. They are pretty unlikely to draw that many basics with we in the deck and 5 fetches.
So how's elmikkino doing in the GP so far?
I believe they are 2-1.
Okay, yeah, they lost
to Infuse.
Yeah, they've lost the even more broken deck.
So they need to win one more round to get in.
I mean, it'd be funny if elmikkino wins another GP with Runebrawler, but I feel like, Infuse is still a huge problem for them.
Yeah, the elmikkino has teched their sideboard a fair bit for Infuse, with the sideboard already being checked towards graveyard kind of spell decks for Forbidden Treasure to start with, and then additionally the 2 additional Still the Pandemonium sideboard and an additional 1 main deck.
Right.
As well as Excoriates to deal with Rini, though maybe whether or not you want those, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but you're hoping that elmikkino manages to top 8 another GP with the same deck as the last one.
Just seeing if they get the back-to-back. Maybe Panya will get a nerf.
I thought Portal Fracture was the...
Portal Fracture too. the middle, although Portal Fracture is disgusting, I feel like kind of highlighting Panya is like, especially in that match, where Panya just kind of had the potential to obliterate Ambrose at any moment.
Right.
Whereas Portal Fracture was just kind of incidental. So I mean, it's certainly possible that elmikkino gets the back-to-back. I mean, Fuse is definitely a incredibly strong deck, but in the match against it, they thought it was kind of a 50-50 matchup, so it's certainly possible Infuse falls to either itself or something like ninjas with main deck Silent Hypnotist.
Yeah.